I am an American soldier.
I'm a warrior and a member of a team.
I serve the people of the United States and live the Army values.
I will always place mission first.
I will never accept defeat.
I will never accept defeat.
I will never quit.
I will never leave a fallen comrade.
I am disciplined.
I am disciplined.
Physically and mentally tough.
Trained and proficient in my warrior tasks and drills.
I always maintain my arms, my equipment, and myself.
I am an expert and I am a professional.
I stand ready to deploy, engage, and destroy the
enemies of the United States of America in close combat.
I am a guardian of freedom and the American way of life.
I am an American soldier.
I am an American soldier.
I am an American soldier.
There's strong, and there's Army strong. See what it takes at GoArmy.com.
Sometimes riders feel lost, unsure why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, offering manuscript critiques and line edits through a mentoring editorial style. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services, visit blackwolfeditorial.com.
Hey folks, I want to introduce you to a friend of mine, Dr. Richard Harden. We are on the same mission, which is waking up America. We just have different paths. So stay tuned for some information on how you can keep up with Richard and all his work.
Visit Richard's website at raharden.com. That's the World Wide Web at RAHARDIN.com. At his website, you can see a summary of the 6 books he has written, where purchases may be made. He also has a link to 18 videos on YouTube and several blogs about Christian beliefs. If you prefer, visit Amazon.com/Kindle and type in Richard Harden to see and purchase his books.
Every day, the men and women of the United States Marine Corps stand ready to defend the American way of life. The few, the proud, the Marines.
The following message contains a special offer for listeners of this station. Are you a man over 40? Are you constantly looking for the nearest bathroom? Do you wake up multiple times a night to use the bathroom? Right now, Perfect Prostate is sending out free bottles of their groundbreaking new formula to listeners of this station. Perfect Prostate Formula was developed by medical doctor Mitchell Fleischer, and its ingredients have been clinically studied to reduce your frequent nighttime bathroom visits and promote healthy urine flow. Right now, preferred customers get their first bottle of Perfect Prostate absolutely free. There's nothing to lose. Perfect Prostate is guaranteed to reduce that constant urge to use the bathroom, especially at night, and promote healthy urine flow. Don't wait. Call now for your free bottle. Just pay shipping and processing. Dial 1-800-675-0251. That's 1-800-675-0251. Supplies are limited. One free bottle per household. Call now. Dial 1-800-675-0251. That's 1-800-675-0251.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
My name is Jessie. I'm a United States Special Forces widow. This gives me a unique perspective on the world around us. If you're willing to listen, I'll tell you how I see it, and I won't pull any punches. This is my POV, which stands for point of view.
All right, how you doing out there tonight? Yes, I miss you when I'm not chatting with you. Now,
I am at least attempting to hang out in the KLRN radio chat. And I say attempting to because for those of you who don't know, I've had a cast on my right hand for a few days. It's coming off tomorrow, thankfully. Trust me, no one is more thankful than I am. But I am over on KLRNradio.com/chat. Join me so you can give me some feedback. All right, I got some numbers I want to share with you guys before I get the show started. Got some station announcements. All right. Last month, as in January. Yes, I am talking January. What, you don't remember January? I sure do. All right, January, we had just under, and I mean just barely, as in less than 10 short, total listens on KLRN Radio. Thank you. You guys are awesome. Personal note, you guys have made my show the second most popular show on the station. That's so awesome. I can't thank my listeners enough. Yes, each and every one of you is abso-freaking-lutely amazing. Now, Station Manager Ann wanted me to remind y'all that we do have the giveaway of her very own custom mug. It's awesome. It's an American bald eagle with a flag in its talons. What you gotta do to find out about it and see a picture of this mug is hop on over to KLRNradio.com and you'll see a tab on the main menu called What's New. Click on it and it'll take you to our blog. We're using our blog as a newsletter because, quite frankly, we'd rather tell you what we think on air. We don't have that many big writers around here. So, I thank you so much for being loyal listeners. You guys are awesome, and I wouldn't be here without you. I really wouldn't. Now, I do have my show prep, but as you recall, since I'm doing this one-handed, we aren't banging show prep on the desk right now. Try tomorrow. Yeah, the cast comes off tomorrow. Score. You go, that's short. I was put in a cast for reasons that most people wouldn't. They're personal and they're medical related. So I'm going to keep that to myself as to why I'm in a cast and you wouldn't be, but that's the way it goes. All right, moving right along. Yes, I've got more for you. Don't I always? Yes, I always have more. Sorry, I'm trying to do 3 things at once, all with my left hand. It does kind of distract me every now and again. All right. So, well, I guess I sort of banged the show prep. This hit the news just as I was coming on air. No, I'm not talking about Trump's travel ban. You know I don't cover U.S. politics unless they intersect with military or international affairs. All right. Bashar al-Assad gave an interview to Yahoo News. And he was point blank asked, And yes, Yahoo News went to Damascus to interview him. He was point blank asked if some of the refugees are terrorists. Now, before I give you his answer, which you probably already know what it is, I'm going to say, remember, Bashar al-Assad considers people terrorists, that we don't. But I also think that his answer could be there could be regular terrorists in there, plus the ones that he views as terrorists, alright? That we don't. So yes, he said some of the refugees, and he's talking about in his own country, are aligned with terrorists, sympathetic with terrorists, and flat-out terrorists. And then he went on to say those terrorists appear as peaceful refugees in Europe or in the West. He couldn't estimate how many, but he added that you don't need a significant number to commit atrocities. Remember, the 9/11 attacks were pulled off by fewer than 20 terrorists out of maybe millions of immigrants to the United States. So it's not about the number, it's about the quality, it's about the intentions. So that's something I'd like to see us take seriously. Now, Syria. The war rages on. Yes, we're still on Syria. I'm trying to keep my stories grouped together a little better. I'm trying. I didn't get a chance to rifle through the show prep articles. So I'm going to have to do some paper shuffling as I'm talking. Though the two sides sat down face to face in Kazakh, capital of Astana, a month, rebels in Damascus, the government has pressed offensives against the rebels around the capital, Damascus, and recently escalated its air campaigns in Homs and Idlib. There are some 2,000 dead, about a third of them civilians, according to Britain-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights Monitoring Group. It is the lowest it's been in 4 years, but that may be because the government wrapped up operations for Aleppo, the country's largest city, by the way. Rebels, for their part, struck at government positions in central Hama province, though they've been mostly occupied by fighting in Idlib that calls into question the direction of their insurrection. And, of course, don't forget, in the midst of all this, Daesh has renewed its crusade for the remote eastern city of Deir al-Zor while holding on to the culturally cherished site of Palmyra. Oh yeah, Daesh still has Palmyra. Remember, they got kicked out, they took it back, now they're trying to be kicked out again. Turkish troops and rival Syrian military are both closing in on the Daesh town of al-Bab. U.S.-backed Kurdish forces bear down on the extremist capital, Raqqa. So there is a lot going on. Yes, small and out of the way, al-Bab is shaping up to be a weather vane for the rest of the conflict as the UN plans to convene Syria peace talks in Geneva on February 20th. Okay, quick take on the UN. They do a lot of talking. I'm not sure what else they do, but they do a lot of talking. Despite a rebel ultimatum delivered in Estonia against further aggression around the capital, Syrian government forces, along with Lebanon's Hezbollah, now who funds Hezbollah? Iran. Militant group pressed on with the offensive against rebels holding Damascus' primary source of water and defeated them 1 week later. About 2,000 rebels, opposition activists, and their families chose exile from the Barada Valley rather than remaining under government authority. A hallmark of the government's strategy is to squeeze its opponents through siege, then offer them exile. Hundreds of thousands have fled their homes from bombardment across the country, with thousands more fleeing to northwestern Idlib province instead of returning to government rule. Opponents of the strategy call it forced displacement. Alright, and for those of you who are just tuning in today, let me see if I still got those audio clips pulled up from yesterday, from the other day. Yes. Here's just a little bit about Al-Bab.
Moving over to Al-Bab. Since January 1st, 2017, the coalition's conducted 35 strikes, delivering 101 weapons in or near Al-Bab to kill ISIL fighters, destroy equipment, artillery, fighting positions, tunnels, and command and control nodes. Coalition and Turkish military leaders continue coordinating operations in southwest Syria. The enemy in Al-Bab is in deep trouble, with Turkish military and partner forces converging on the city from the northwest, coalition forces pounding the enemy from the air, and regime forces approaching from the south.
Yes, that's just some of what's going on in Al-Bab. I've got some other audio I'll be playing for you later on the show. I just want to remind you. Now, real short second clip about Al-Bab.
The battle space is becoming more complicated as the forces converge around Al-Bab, so we'll maintain our deconfliction channel with the Russians.
Yes, we are having to communicate with the Russians about fighting in and around Al-Bab. No matter what they want, they're having to do it. So that's just to keep our soldiers and our coalition partners safe. I've also got some stuff on force readiness, but we will get to that later. And I may have to put together a really long thing on force readiness, because I've been listening to the congressional hearings on military readiness, and I've had to pick my jaw up off the floor more than once. Now, we're staying in the same region, moving on to Turkey. Yes, President Erdogan. Turkish police detained 4 Daesh suspects who were allegedly planning to carry out a sensational attack in Turkey. They seized 24 suicide belts, along with cell phones and other the suicide belts made with 150 kilograms, 330 pounds of explosives, fortified with metal pieces, as well as 2 automatic rifles, 31 pounds of TNT, or 14 kilograms, cell phones that could be used as detonators and other materials during an anti-terror operation in Gaziantep, near the border with Syria. No details have been given on the nationalities of the suspects, who were allegedly taking orders from high-level Daesh members in Syria. One suspect was wanted for membership in a terrorist organization, according to the Gaziantep provincial governor's office. The suspects are being questioned by prosecutors, and the governor's office said they led the 4 police investigators to a field and other locations where explosives and other material were hidden. The official spoke on the condition of anonymity in line with government regulations that bar civil servants from speaking to journalists, of course. Last year, Turkey suffered a series of deadly attacks carried out by Daesh or Kurdish militants and has stepped up its anti-terrorism operations across the country. Some 750 people with alleged Daesh links were detained in a major police sweep in 29 Turkish provinces last week. Yes, last week. Now, here's something I'll bet you didn't know. Where's Mike Pompeo? Yeah, director of the CIA. CIA chief Mike Pompeo has arrived in Turkey to discuss the fight against Daesh in Syria and Iraq. Pompeo is making his first overseas trip since taking office, is scheduled to meet with his Turkish counterpart, as well as with President Erdogan. Talks include plans for a possible operation to retake the Daesh stronghold of Raqqa. Pompeo's visit follows U.S. President Trump's phone call with Erdogan. Now, I don't have a full readout on that call because, I don't cover U.S. politics, but I do have just a real quick audio clip on it if I can find it fast enough. Here it is.
President Trump also spoke with President Erdogan of Turkey, during which he conveyed U.S. support to Turkey as a strategic partner and NATO ally and welcomed Turkey's contributions to the fight against ISIS.
Yep, that's all it was. I said it was a short audio clip. So Pompeo is over in Turkey. Interesting place for him to show up right now. Giving Al-Bab, Raqqa, Mosul. Yeah, this is interesting. I gotta keep an eye on this. Turkey has troops trying to liberate Al-Bab in Syria and is pressing for a joint operation with the U.S. to recapture Raqqa without the Kurds. Turkey was also angered by U.S. backing. Of course, Turkey doesn't like us backing the Kurds, because remember, Turkey views all Kurds, all, as terrorists. And of course, Turkey's also going to probably ask for Gulen's extradition. Who's Gulen? Gulen is a cleric who came here to the United States, self-exiled himself from Turkey and came to the United States. He's been living in Pennsylvania, and Erdogan blames him for the attempted coup last summer. What can I say? How someone orchestrates a coup attempt from halfway around the world is something I have yet to figure out. If any of you out there have any insight on how somebody would execute a coup from halfway around the world, oh, please do drop me a line, Jessie's POV at KLRNRadio.com, or you can find me on Twitter at Jessie's POV. And right now, if you're listening to me live, you can find me in the chat room at KLRNRadio.com/chat. Yes, I am hanging out there, not doing a lot of typing, just watching for messages. So, hey, I'm doing this with one hand. What can I say? Alright. I've got just a little bit of time before we hit the bottom of the hour. And I can already tell you, I could keep going. I could do a 2-hour show tonight just with the stack of show prep on my desk. I don't have time, but I do have one total unrelated story from anything else I'm covering. And I can't resist sharing this one, and then we are going to pay them bills! This one is from South Africa, as in Johannesburg. Okay, you're familiar with the State of the Union address. You ever see a fist fight during it? Oh yeah. President Jacob Zuma is facing low approval ratings as the nation's economy drags and his popularity appears to have bottomed out. Then, while he was delivering their equivalent of the State of the Union address, a fight broke out. Yes, a brawl. Red uniformed opposition members fought burly white-shirted security guards after more than an hour of bitter yelling and screaming of obscenities and vitriol outside the Parliament building in Cape Town. Police fired stun grenades and tear gas at protesters. Okay, this is the kind of behavior I don't want to see in this country. The anger against Zuma was palpable both inside Parliament and out. Seeing this, the presidency summoned 441 soldiers to Parliament and moved the office said was necessary for security and safety. So it's pretty interesting. When the dust and gas had settled, nearly 90 minutes after he was scheduled to begin, Zuma calmly rose, laughed, coughed, made a joke about feeling the effects of the tear gas, and said one word, "Finally." Then he launched into his speech that, despite its lack of oratorical flourishes, was in many ways startling. So, and the scariest thing in it, and yeah, I don't do much on South Africa, but I found this story interesting. A plan that Zuma said could fundamentally shift who owns property in the nation. Fundamental change in the structure, systems, and economic institutions and patterns of ownership, management, and control of the economy in favor of all South Africans. So this could be interesting to see what happens. I'm just grateful we don't have fistfights in Congress. Might get more people to watch C-SPAN, but I don't want to see it. I want us to be a peaceful, democratic republic. All right, folks. On that note, I will see you on the other side.
In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from the critique of the short story through to line edits on full-length novels. We also offer assistance on generating writers' bios for your websites. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
I've owned my company for 14 years now, and I can tell you that payroll is a 4-letter word. I hate doing it. It eats up hours I don't have, and it costs me money I could be saving. But my accountant's too expensive, and I'm not sure who to call, but I know I need help.
We're Paychex, and we take all the hassles out of small business payroll. We save you time and money. It's easy. Call, fax, or give us your payroll information securely online, and we take care of the rest. We calculate the correct taxes, manage payments and direct deposits. We even send out your checks. Payroll doesn't need to be a 4-letter word anymore. We're so sure that we can save you time and money that we'll give you a month's payroll free. Just for calling 877-757-2782. Get 1 month's payroll for free. Call Paychex right now. 877-757-2782. That's 877-757-2782.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
Thank you for hanging in there with me while I paid them bills. Gotta pay those bills. By the way, I gotta point something out. Black Wolf Editorial is running an amazing social media special. No, seriously, it's out and out amazing. Now, don't forget our giveaway on KLRNRadio.com. There is an awesome coffee mug up for grabs. Oh yeah, and you can't buy this one. That's what makes it so super special. No logo on it or anything. It's just it's something that station manager Ann commissioned. She owns the right to it, and she had it made into a coffee mug, and she wants to share it with you. Now, I wasn't planning on using this piece of audio, so I think I've got it queued up right. Let's take a quick listen.
One threats today. Could we do that?
I hate to use the lawyer answer here and say it depends, because it does depend on which two of the four we're talking about. And to answer it more specifically than that, I think we probably need to go into a...
All right, let me back up the question just a little bit further.
And question for you, and something that we just briefly touched on. If our Navy had to answer to 2 or more of the so-called 4+1 threats today, could we do that?
I hate to use the lawyer answer here and say it depends, because it does depend on which two of the four we're talking about. And to answer it more specifically than that, I think we probably need to go into a closed hearing to really fully flesh that out for you. But we are at a point right now, as I said in my opening and in my written statement, that our ability to serve beyond our current force that's forward is very limited, which should give you a pretty good indication that would be challenging to meet the current guidance to defeat and deny in 2 conflicts.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Admiral. And
all right, that audio, which, sorry about my sneeze, that was me sneezing, not the dear Admiral, was from the Senate hearing on military readiness. Now, I wanted to bring that to you before I brought you the next story, because it kind of set off a couple of alarm bells. It really did. Now, you know I do South China Sea stuff on a regular basis, and this is in that vein, and this is how I tripped over that story. Oftentimes, guys, I'll go searching for one area of the world and find a related story from some other area of the world. Because remember I showed you yesterday how everything's so interconnected? You have Iran buying stuff from Russia, and they're friends with Russia. Russia's propping up Assad. Iran's propping up Assad. And I've already proved to you that North Korea and Iran are exchanging missile information. So, and of course, China is North Korea's big brother. They don't want anything to happen to their little buffer from South Korea. So it's just going to be an interesting cacophony of things. Now, this article is not from U.S. News, but it's from a European source. I don't need to tell you which one. This is about the South China Sea, okay? Okay. Satellite imagery reveals the superpower China's huge missile testing grounds appear to have been laid out to mimic American military bases in the Pacific. Missile targets seem to have been drawn up to resemble airfields, destroyers, aircraft carriers, and fuel depots. chilling images of giant ranges are unveiled in a report by Commander Thomas Stuttgart, a submarine warfare officer in the U.S. Navy. Commander Stuttgart's report, written for military analysis publication War on the Rocks, details the shocking reality of war in the Pacific. Photos reveal mock airfields, fake harbors, naval bases, and shapes laid out like moored ships litter China's missile testing ranges. The layouts eerily match up to U.S. bases in Japan, such as the Navy base in Yokosuka, Misawa Air Base, Kadena Air Base, and fuel depots in Hachinohe. Ship harbors are almost identical to vessels such as the USS Arleigh Burke class destroyer and U.S. aircraft carriers. I mean, folks, that's a scary proposition. That is a really scary proposition. The United States and its allies should take action now to ensure that China does not think it can gain the upper hand in a conflict through a successful missile strike against U.S. bases in Asia. They must ensure that China is not tempted, as some of the United States' previous adversaries have been, into making the grave error of trying to knock the United States down a peg, expecting it not to get back up. I gotta say, folks, that's one thing we do in this country. After 9/11, we were knocked down. We had a traumatic blow. But the wave of patriotism, togetherness, and get back up on our feet that struck afterwards was amazing. Experts have claimed that the U.S. has as many as 400 military bases surrounding China. I don't know if I'd go that high. So, the U.S. has talked up cutting trade. The U.S. has talked up cutting trade as Trump squared up to the Asia-Pacific powerhouses. Warships, missiles, bombs, and fighter planes flood the region. Remember, I told you about some of the stuff that's been going on in the South China Sea. There was also a close call between it was either Chinese or Russian aircraft and ours in the South China Sea, and I'm going to say it was Chinese. If trade stops, war starts. So that is a true statement, and I don't want to see all trade with China stop. But these pictures, and I wish I could show them to you. Maybe I'll pick one and put it up on my show graphic. These are scary. They are flat out scary. I'm sitting here looking at them going, wait a minute, which one's the real one? Which one's the mock one? So I'm going to have to look and see if I can get a copy of this report. I may have to do a little more digging for you. You know I try. Now, since I've been mentioning military readiness, I got a couple of audio clips that absolutely terrified me. And we're going to start, since we were just discussing aircraft carriers, we're going to start with the Navy.
To give you an indication of where we are with this smaller Navy running harder than it has in a very long time, we are out at our public yards. The priorities to fix ships in the public yards are our nukes, starting with our boomers because of the national strategic deterrence, followed by our aircraft carriers, and then we get down to the SSN world. And because of the capacity limitations and the workforce limitations that we've had, and our inability to get some of our submarines or some of our work assigned to the private yards, we've had to delay submarines like Boise for an extended period of time. So Boise was scheduled for a 24-month availability. They are now on month 47. In that time, the CO has come. Yes,
yeah, just
go ahead.
Make the point. What you're telling me is that you got a nuclear submarine that because it doesn't meet readiness standards, you can't take it out and utilize it today.
Even while it's waiting for maintenance, it is not certified to dive because of the length of time it's been parked. Yes, sir, that's true.
All right, I got one more clip I want to play in relation to this, and I'm going to explain one more terrifying thought that I had, and even discussed it with a couple of my male friends, and they flat out agreed.
And the last piece of that that's important is that much like Albany, another SSN, which also was extended for 48 months, that CO started the eval and finished the eval having never left the yards to operate that submarine. The XO and the chief engineer, I believe, neither one of them promoted, and the entire crew never deployed. And we're on path to do that with Boise if we don't get her going. So we're looking hard at the private yards to fix that problem.
All right. Now, before I dig into the deeper issue, just imagine this. Put yourself in this position. Your promotion, whether or not you get promoted, depends on in large part, on one annual review. What goes into that annual review? What have you done in your job? What have you done with the skills and training the United States military has given you? Have you led your men in drills? Have you successfully completed training? These sailors, all of them, and I'm calling them all sailors right now, were never able to train or certify in their jobs. That submarine never left port. That is going to negatively impact the careers of every single sailor that was trapped on that, assigned to that vessel during that time. That submarine was not certified to go out and be used. It's still not out. And why is it not out? Sequestration is the simple answer. Now just think of how much of an impact, how much you'd be willing to stay in the military if you'd been trapped into a situation through no fault of your own that left you unable to do your job, unable to train, unable to certify in your job, and your career then suffered. Would you be likely to stay in? Now, I've got an audio clip here called Hollow Force. This is again from the congressional hearing on military readiness.
I'll begin with you, General Allen. Do we face the prospect of a hollow army?
Thank you, Chairman McCain. And my belief is if we continue with a continuing resolution, and if we do not eliminate sequestration this year, then we will be faced with the likelihood of beginning that dive toward a hollow force.
Senator, I believe that the sign of a hollow force is when no one wants to stay in the force. And I think the longer we go, to General Allen's point, with reduced funding and our inability to allow our young men and women to do what they joined to serve their country, they'll walk. And that will lead to a hollow force. So we're under threat here in the next few years if we don't get our fiscal house in order.
And Chairman, same for us. If we don't give them the new equipment, they won't stay around. And that, by definition, at least in my mind, is a hollow force.
Chairman Word, I would agree with everything that's been said. As we look at the time period you talked about, the late 70s, at the depth of the hollow force, we're flying less sorties and less hours today than we were then.
That is scary, folks. Now, I don't often ask you folks to do anything. How often have I ever said, other than, hey, follow me on Twitter if you want to catch up with me? How often have I ever asked you to do anything? It's pretty rare. I'm going to ask you this time, and I stay out of U.S. politics. I really try hard, but this has affected my military. I want you to reach out to your congressmen and your senators and tell them to get the military a real budget, not a continuing resolution. And I've got another 45 minutes worth of audio. I could have filled this entire show with audio clips from that hearing. I didn't because I wanted to bring you some of the regular news I cover on a routine basis. But I felt this was important enough that I wanted to mention it. So please, reach out to your senators, United States congressmen, and have them get rid of sequestration and give our military the funding it needs this year. Don't wait for fiscal year 2018. Please, get them the funding they need so they can fly and train and practice and get ships out of the yard. Because I'm sorry, if you've got soldiers, sailors, Marines, and airmen who can't practice their skills, stay honed, and be at the top of their game. And I'm not talking special forces. They pretty much get their budget no matter what. I'm talking the regular forces. They will walk away. And it takes experience to be able to do some of these tasks. It takes what's called muscle memory to be able to fly a fighter jet in the heat, under stress, under pressure, and do it correctly. And not have accidents. This is how come, if you've noticed over the past few years, we've had hard landings. We've had helicopters fall out of the sky from maintenance issues. We've had planes have crashes due to pilot error. Sometimes fatal crashes. Sometimes the pilot was able to get out. Now that is something I cannot accept. Flag-covered caskets coming back to Dover after accidents that could have been prevented if our military had a real budget. I can accept a lot. I personally accepted not knowing when or where my first husband was. The phone would ring, or he'd leave for work sometimes at 9 o'clock in the morning, wouldn't come home for 2 weeks. No notice, no nothing, just gone. I can accept that. But I also knew he had the training I had to believe in the training and the man to his left and the man to his right. And I did. And up until, obviously, the last time, he came home every time. And I'm not going to tell this story on air, so don't ask. But he did his darndest for this country. He gave his last full measure. Can you please contact your senators and your congressmen and see to it that our United States Armed Forces get the funding they need so we don't have people dying in accidents that could have been prevented by training? All right, I'll get off my soapbox. And we will move back to the regular scheduled news stuff. All right, let's talk Afghanistan. I have an audio clip that I'm pretty much going to let it speak for itself. This is the commander of the forces in Afghanistan, and I found what he had to say pretty interesting. Thankfully, this wasn't scary.
Your overall commander's assessment, are we winning or losing?
Mr. Chairman, I believe we're in a stalemate.
Thank you. And, of course, our Afghan partners have been sustaining very significant losses. And I'm not sure that's sustainable, the level of losses that the ANA is experiencing.
And, Mr. Chairman, we're very concerned about the level of losses. The recurrent recruitment replaces the level of losses that they're experiencing. However, it does not allow them to get to their full authorized strength, which they are below.
Of according to the IG, the Taliban controls 15% more territory than they did in 2015. Do you agree with that?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I do.
As you know, and the committee knows, 8,400 U.S. troops and 5,000 coalition troops. That's 13,300. And I'm fully aware, General, I know members are, that numbers are just one parameter. It's what they do, how they're equipped, and all that. But it is an important parameter. How many more do you need to get this stalemate reversed?
Mr. Chairman, I have adequate resourcing in my counterterrorism mission. In my train, advise, and assist mission, however, we have a shortfall of a few thousand. And this is in the NATO train, advise, assist mission. So this can come from the U.S. and its allies.
Okay. So the U.S. and its allies need to give more troops to Afghanistan for the train, advise, and assist mission. I thought that was pretty interesting. Now, there's one more thing, and I thought this was also important, and then I know I'm almost out of time. I am brushing up against that clock so hard, it's going to bite me any minute. But we're going to take the time to listen to this clip, because that's how important I feel it is.
That they had actually had plans for an attack on the mainland. Can you comment on that?
Yes, Senator, thank you. And thank you for the opportunity to articulate this. We believe, as we said, that our operations in Afghanistan directly protect the homeland. The individual you're referring to is named Farouk al-Qatari.
Yes,
we killed. Yes, sir. We killed him on October the 23rd in eastern Afghanistan in a remote area of Kunar province. Farouk al-Qatari was the external operations director for al-Qaeda. He was involved in plotting against the U.S. homeland. So this is one example, without getting into classified details, of a specific terrorist operating in Afghanistan who was involved in plotting against the U.S. homeland. More importantly, his organization, al-Qaeda, and its affiliates have been severely attrited and degraded, as you know. And our objective is to destroy them in Afghanistan. We will continue to keep pressure, but in order to do that, we need to maintain the counterterrorism platform that we have in Afghanistan in an enduring manner. So this is how it directly relates to our national security at home. I would also add, Senator, if I may, that from a height of our engagement in Afghanistan, over the past 15 years, we were over 100,000 troops. We are now down to about 10% of that. So as we look at this commitment over time, that surge that we did into Afghanistan will enable us to build the Afghan security forces. And as the chairman mentioned, now it is they who are doing most of the fighting. From the height of our assistance to the Afghan security forces was 10 to 12 billion in those years that we were building. We're now down to about $3.5 billion. For the Afghan Security Forces Fund with additional funds to support our troops. So there has been a reduction in the overall cost of this mission. And for those of you wondering what that sound effect was at the end, I got this off the DoD YouTube page. And that's their little intro and outro noise that they make, and I got it off the beginning and I forgot to cut it off the end. So, it is open source. You can check it out. The full versions are on C-SPAN or on DVids. And for those of you who don't know what DVids is, dvidshub.net. It is where I get most of my press briefings and audio clips from military members. When I give you the Operation Inherent Resolve updates, I usually got it there. So, not to give away my secrets, but most of you aren't going to have time to listen to an hour-long press conference. That's why I grab what's important and break it down for you. All right. I am officially almost out of time. But I've got to play this one audio clip again. And I played it yesterday, but I can't resist this one. I just can't.
And it's from the Operation Inherent Resolve update. It was a few days ago. It's talking about Daesh.
The enemy is completely surrounded in West Mosul, and those who do not surrender to the Iraqi security forces will be killed there.
So the U.S. commander is essentially saying, surrender or die. And that, no offense, I'm not going to state which one I would like. Anything that gets them off the battlefield and keeps them off the battlefield is good with me. All right, folks, I am over time, and I got to make my way out of here because Jen and Rick is hot on my heels. Oh, yeah. What do you mean you're going to turn on the TV? No, you're not. You're going to stay right here for the Jen and Rick show. And don't forget to hop on over to KLRNRadio, hit that contact form, and enter for the giveaway for that amazing mug. I'll tweet out a picture after I get off the air. I wanted one, but I can't enter. I can't enter, so do it for me. Okay? Okay.